Okay, and what we want to do in this video is start a new collection of videos on demand, supply and market equilibrium. But before we talk about demand, which is going to be the main focus of the next number of videos, we're going to talk about what a market is and definition of markets. So we're going to start looking at what are called competitive markets. Now, I just want to make the caveat now very clear that there's not only, competitive markets are not the only type of markets that exist. There are other markets and we'll have a look at them later on in the course. But right now we're looking at competitive markets. And markets are the most important concept in economics, at least one of the most. The reason is, we've already talked about in the previous video about the three questions of economics. And it's what is to be produced, how is it to be produced, and who gets these goods. And in a capitalist economy, markets through the price mechanism solve that. And we're going to say, okay, look, we have infinite wants, we have limited ability, limited resources, limited ability to satisfy those wants. So how do we decide on those three questions? And the answer is the interaction of demand and supply bring about a price, and those prices coordinate society's scarce resources which have alternative uses. Now, that is a statement you might not and most likely do not understand yet, but hopefully from this next series of videos that you should come back to this, listen to that statement and see if you understand it. Okay? Now, what is a market? Well, it's the best way to think about it, look, is that it's just a collection of buyers and sellers. Okay? And what we've got here is a physical marketplace where you have sellers selling all the different stuff that they're selling, and people are walking around seeing if or what they will buy. But we need a little bit more of an in-depth definition of what a market is. So a market is any arrangement where a collection of buyers and sellers of goods, services, or resources are linked together to carry out exchange. So what do we mean by that? Well, exchange is just buying or selling a good, because in order to buy a good, somebody else must be selling it. Okay, well, that's the first thing. So that's obvious here. But when we're saying there's a collection of buyers and sellers, any arrangement, well, if you look at something like Amazon, that's a digital market. That's not a place where it has the market itself. Obviously, Amazon have physical premises and things like that, a location. But the market itself is not a physical place. It's online, but it is a collection. It's an arrangement of buyers and sellers of goods. Okay, Upwork is another type of market. Now, there what you can do is hire people that have specific skills to do certain jobs for you. All right, so that they're selling services, and essentially they're selling their resources, which is most likely the use of their time, labor, and also the use of any capital that they may have, because certainly it's all to do with computers and things like that. Okay, so that's what a market is. Now, we know from our previous analysis that a market-based system is the best way to allocate scarce resources. We've seen the lessons of history throughout time when people deviate from market-based systems and the atrocities that have occurred in communist societies like the Great Leap Forward, or even if you just look at Venezuela nowadays, I mean, it's horrific what's going on there. That's all through communism. Okay? And we say people have competing wants and needs, and it is through the market-based system, through the interaction of demand and supply, that bring about a set of prices, and they answer the three questions of what is to be produced, how it is to be produced, and who gets it. They answer the question of what is the best way to allocate scarce resources which have alternative uses. It is a market system, the interaction of demand and supply, that solves those three questions, or answers those three questions in economics. Okay, so markets are made up of buyers and sellers. No problem, that makes sense. If you're going to buy something, somebody else better be selling it. So when we say demand, what we're saying is we're talking about buyers. Okay, we're talking about the one side of the market. When we say supply, we're talking about sellers. We're talking about the other side of the market. But for now, all we're going to be doing is looking at the demand side, which is the buyer side. So right now, we're just thinking about those people that are buying. Okay, now obviously, if you're going to sell something, you sell it, you get money, and you buy something else. But we're just talking about the buying side. All right, we're leaving the selling side or supply to later. So it's always a good idea to know what you're talking about before you speak about something. So what is demand? The quantity demanded of any good is the amount of that good that buyers are willing and able to purchase at any given price, or if you want, a set of prices. Okay, so what I want you to understand right now, and we'll go into this later in another video, is that, like, If I said who wants a Ferrari, most people would just say, yeah, absolutely. Now, I haven't mentioned price. So if I said who wants a Ferrari for free, again, I would imagine all the hands would be up. So if I said who wants a Ferrari, but it's going to cost you $100 million, what's the problem there? You know, a lot of people can't afford it. Well, I certainly can't afford it. So price has an effect on the quantity demanded, okay? So the word able is really, really important. And the thing is, we say in economics that you only demand something at a certain price if you buy the good at that price. And therefore, able comes into it. Because if you don't have the 100 million to buy that Ferrari, you don't demand it, okay? If you're willing to pay the price, even if you are willing, which I'm not willing to pay 100 million for anything, but if you're willing to pay the price, but cannot afford to pay that price, then you don't demand it. Okay, now this, don't get confused here, but this leads on to this idea of effective demand. I'll just state right before we even talk about what it is. Demand is effective demand. Just sometimes they say, oh, what's effective demand? Refers to the desire for goods and services supported by the necessary purchasing power. You have to be willing and able. The willing bit is the desire here. The able is the supported by the necessary purchasing power. So when we're speaking of demand in economics, we are referring to effective demand. Just in case you ever see effective demand, you're like, oh, I heard of demand, I'd never heard of effective demand. It's the exact same thing. There is no difference. So this is a very fancy sports car. Okay, and we've got three people. We've got Adam, Brian, and Carol. So we're talking about who demands it. All right, well, we're saying Adam doesn't want it, so he doesn't demand it. Okay, Brian, I want it, but I can't afford it. Therefore, he doesn't demand it. So we're on to Carol. She goes, I want it and I can't afford it. She has not demanded it yet. So I buy it. There, she demands it at that price, whatever it is. Okay, once she bought it, she has demanded it. And therefore, I demand it, and she's dead right. So in order for you to demand something at a certain price, you must want it and have the money and therefore buy it. Once you've bought it, you have demanded it at that price.